would like to thank members of the press, members of the media, and ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this press briefing. The name of this press briefing is Amazonite, the Amazonite investigation, and I will give you more information as the briefing goes on. Before I start with the information, I would like to introduce you to the members of the panel. We have to your far left, all the way at the end of the table, Chief Inspector Delano Baptiste. He's the head of the Detective Department of the Police Force of St. Martin. Next to him, we have the Honorable Minister of TIAT, Mr. Stuart Johnson. And then we have our Minister of Justice, the Honorable Cornelius De Wever. Next to Mr. Cornelius De Wever is our Chief of Police, Mr. Carl John. And at the end of the table next to me is Ms. Miriam Moll. She's the Chief Public Prosecutor of the Prosecution Service. So again, I would like to say that I am glad you're here today so that we can give information in regard to the Amazonite case or the Amazonite investigation, which to enlighten your memory is the investigation or the case involving the Canadian tourist which was tragically lost his life on the 5th of June 2019. The incident took place in the Beacon Hill area. That's a very busy tourist area, and that is when the gentleman by the name of Sylvain Valade, during an armed robbery, was shot and tragically lost his life. So with that, I would like to say that we have been working quite diligently to help solve this very horrendous case, and we want to tell you that we at this time have arrested 3 suspects in this case, and the investigation into this matter is definitely ongoing. And with that, so to further give you information in regard to this case, I would like to call forward our Minister of Justice, Mr. De Wever. Please come forward and say a few words.
Thank you, Chief Inspector Henson. Good morning to my colleague ministers and those in the Justice Chain, Chief Carl John, Miriam Moll from the Prosecutor's Office, and Mr. Baptiste. Today brings a sense of closure to our community and to the Valade family. It is our hope that their capture will provide some solace to the family and friends of the victim who ultimately lost his life as a result of this senseless and merciless act of violence. As a father, I can understand the instinctive nature of a man to protect his daughter. It is also my hope that this capture and the capture of anyone breaking our laws brings solace to our entire community. Justice is when we never have another death caused by those with malintent. That is all our responsibility and requires us to change our perspective. Understanding the negative impact of any violent action to anyone in our community or visiting our friendly island highlights the changes we all have to make. It is in our power to make the necessary changes. Justice means that there should never be another tragedy that befell the Valade family, the Jones family, the Natasha Smith family. We must have a common goal. We should never allow tragedies like this to happen when we have the power to act and to prevent. St. Martin should never be put through this. We should never lose another innocent man, woman, or child. It is in our power to make that change. Today begins the process of restoring some faith and people believing in accountability. We have our work to do, and I assure you, the public, that every life is sacred, whether it is a tourist or a resident. We must value life. My deepest respect and gratitude goes out to those sitting here, to the St. Martin Police Force, the Detective Department, the Prosecutor's Office, and all those who worked with them to bring closure to this case, as they continue to work to make our island a safe and welcoming place for its residents and visitors alike. Safety and security can only work when we all work together. I want to just end by saying, of course, this is an ongoing legal matter, so there's very little that I will add to my statement when we open up the floor to questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I would now like to call Honorable Mr. Stephen Johnson, Stuart Johnson, sorry, so that he can say a few words to the media.
Esteemed members of the panel, members of the press, people of St. Martin, those viewing by live broadcast or subsequent broadcast thereafter, good afternoon. On June 5th of this year, the family of Sylvain Valde suffered a horrific loss of their loved one while vacationing here on our island. The news shocked all of us, and today still pains us as we recall the events that unfolded on June 5th. Nothing can take away the pain from the loss that the family has suffered. To have it occur at all is beyond words. And to have it happen here on our shores, where we welcome and embrace all visitors from around the world each year, is equally unacceptable. No one should have to ever worry about their safety while on our island and visiting our shores. I hope that the news of the capture and arrest of the suspects can bring some degree of comfort in the knowledge that they will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Our country mourns with you still today and will be unrelenting in the pursuit of justice. I want to thank the many people who made an effort in one way or another to offer some comfort to the family in their time of mourning. I think the police also deserve to be highly commended for their swift work. In times like these, there is no right set of words that can be used to comfort the grieving family and friends. While you mourn, however, know that we mourn with you and pray that God will grant you the strength and peace as you carry on the memory of your loved one. St. Martin has been known for its hospitality and is a preferred vacation destination for travelers around the world. This swift action by the police helps to reinstore the confidence in our destination. At this time, I also look forward to any questions the press might have. Thank you.
It's hurricane season. Are you prepared? Here are a few tips to remember to help keep you and your family safe. If you're not in an area that is advised to evacuate and you decide to stay in your home, plan for adequate supplies in case you lose power and water for several days and you're not able to leave due to flooding or blocked roads. This hurricane season, make a family emergency communication plan. This public service announcement was brought to you by the government of St. Martin.
I would like to now allow the press to ask some questions to the panel, but I would like to remind them that all questions that are asked will be specifically pertaining to this case and no other cases at this time. So, I want to make that clear, and I want to make sure that everyone knows that questions would be limited to 2 questions per person. Who's taking the floor first? Mr. Stevens, Cerulean, you have the floor.
Thank you, Excellencies. Good afternoon. My question is, I'm going to generalize. How long ago were those 3 youngsters arrested? And maybe some information pertaining to their identity can be divulged.
And who's that question for, Stephen? Just the board.
Stephen, like we said at the beginning of the press conference, it's still an ongoing investigation, and we prefer not to divulge too much of this type of information.
Can you at least say as to how long ago were those young people, old people, arrested?
Like I said, this I want to make perfectly clear. For me, it's not relevant right now on whom was detained, when they was detained. It's relevant that all law enforcement of St. Martin came together, and I'm speaking of all law enforcement, I'm speaking on our French counterparts, I'm speaking on the police force of St. Martin, RST, all law enforcement came together to make this possible. And again, please give us the chance to finalize the formal part of the investigation, and we'll get back to you with more information.
Thank you, Mr. Cerillion. Mr. Andrew Bishop, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Inspector Henson. Chief Commissioner, I would like to ask a simple question. I hope you're able to answer it, because this incident happened since June 5th. Was there anybody that gave you a tip-off on it? I need to know how that happened, if you have your cameras there. How you apprehended these suspects? Because they're still suspects up to now.
Definitely. And that's why we want to be very keen that their rights are not infringed when we are given the information. I didn't really get a chance to do an address, but maybe if I answer the question in this form. For us, the police force of St. Martin is not here to celebrate the capture. We're here really to send a message. And the message is that it's a great strength shown that law enforcement in St. Martin could have come together. And when I speak about St. Martin, I'm speaking about the open border with the French. There is complex, it's very complex to deal with such a fact. So that's why I really don't want to speak about time. Time has to do with our system on the Dutch side, and time had to do with our system on the French side. And that's why I'm really asking the press, give us this time. We don't want to divulge too much information. We found it important that not only St. Martin, had international exposure, not only St. Martin know about this, but that everyone know that the police force, its partners within justice, and everyone, that we are working hard, not only on this specific case, every other case. And if you're really paying attention, we have been having some great successes the last months that have passed. And this has to do with really a justice chain coming together and working together, sharing relevant information and carrying out the necessary actions to keep this community safe.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to ask a question, one more question to the Minister, Mr. Stuart Johnson. What are your comments? Have you contacted the family in Canada about this incident and the capture of these individuals?
Thank you, Mr. Bishop, for your question. Of course, even while the family was here, Ms. Chun and I and the entire ministry, and by extension the government of St. Martin, offered its support to the family. We visited the daughter of the victim at the Sonesta Hotel. After that, we also accompanied her and her close friends to the hospital while the incident was still taking place around the date mentioned, June 5th. Of course, the information going forward now had to also be officially now informed in the right channels. So now, through the Ministry of Justice and otherwise, that outreach will also take place. So indeed, that is part of the communique that will go out after this. And of course, the message today is quite clear that there is good news, and that we let our justice departments do what they have to do in the ongoing investigation in particular. And indeed that St. Martin again has shown its commitment in pursuing the rights of ensuring that justice takes place and that all on St. Martin can feel safe once again.
Thank you, Minister. Mr. Kerkhoff, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Mr. John, I understand that you are kind of tight-lipped about the contents of this case, but can I assume that you are so tight-lipped because you expect to arrest possible more suspects?
Really, we are tight-lipped because we want to respect the rights of also the suspects.
But could you at least disclose when these people are arrested, and have they already been led before an investigating judge? I will confirm that they have been in front of the judge of instruction. Okay, thank you.
It's hurricane season. Are you prepared? Here are a few tips to remember to help keep you and your family safe. Hurricane winds can cause trees and branches to fall. So before hurricane strikes, trim or remove damaged trees and limbs to keep you and your property safe. This hurricane season, secure loose rain gutters and downspouts and clear any clogged areas or debris to prevent water damage to your property. This public service announcement was brought to you by the government of St. Martin.
You all understand that this case also have an impact on Canada, on our visitors here in Canadian visitors to the island. Do you have any idea if this news about this case has impacted tourism from that country to St. Martin?
We have received some communication with our partners in the Canadian market, in particular, one in particular is Sunwing. They were a part of the entire communication, the entire process of support, even in the aftermath of the incident. We have been able to have a conference call not too long ago with Sunwing to ascertain exactly the relationship that we have, to reinforce it, and our commitment. There has been no negative impacts in terms of cancellations or any indications of a decrease. Of course, the news did hit Canada, and now this news will also ultimately, we hope to also hit the wider world, Canada in particular, to show that indeed St. Martin is serious about not only its justice but also about its tourism products. So we anticipate that this news will also be though not going to solve the issue of the family losing their family member, but also bring some sort of solace in this difficult time still that the family is facing at this moment.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. Stephen, one more question for you.
Thank you. This was done in collaboration with the OM's office, of course. My question is for the prosecutor. The investigation is ongoing, undoubtedly, as the chief of police said. If found guilty, what will be the charges or demand of prosecution for those youngsters, oldsters, whatever they may be?
Again, I understand the question and the curiosity, but as the chief of police said, and it's very true, we are still full on with the investigation. So the charges and the prosecution will all have to be decided in due course of this investigation. So I'm unable to answer the question right now.
Thank you. Mr. Bishop, is there any question from you? You have a question?
No, sir. I understand that you cannot get into details.
That's correct.
No more questions.
Okay. And then with that, I would like to ask the panel if there's anyone who would like to say something to Police Sister.
Just before we close, Chief Inspector Henson, I just want to again express my sincere gratitude to the police force of St. Martin for the work that they do, under the conditions to do it, with the capacity that they do it. It's amazing how we get so much done, and I think it is more than high time that we recognize them for the work that they do and continue to appreciate them, because you never know when you need them as well. So I want to make sure, emphasize to the public as well, as that we also need their help with other matters, not just in this case, but other cases as well, because we do not want any repeats of this ever again. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Mr. Johnson.
Just to further support my colleague, Minister De Weaver, I also want to reiterate that it shows again the vulnerability of our main economic pillar being tourism. It's of paramount importance that we understand and safeguard this very important sector, which is our tourism product, and that St. Martin continues to ensure safety not only for our residents but our visitors alike. So once again, I do applaud the swift actions that have taken place, and I look forward, of course, to the investigation being a successful one in the end.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. And I will hereby want to end this press briefing, and I want to thank the entire panel. I want to thank the members of the press, and I want to wish everyone a very happy weekend. Thank you very much for coming.